Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We're listening to most disturbing cases you've ever heard. These are true crimes.
We're off to Toronto, the capital of Ontario, Canada, and its most populous city. Tess Ritchie, born in North Bay, Ontario on November 30th, 1994, grew up in a bustling household as the youngest of five sisters. Her educational journey began at New Norman School, where she aimed to make her mark in the airline industry. At just 22, Tess made a bold decision to move to Toronto to pursue her dreams. In April 2017, she successfully completed her studies in the Flight Services program. Despite receiving job offers from various airlines upon graduating, she felt it wasn't the right time to kickstart her career. Putting her travel passion on hold, she explored different part-time roles, picked up Italian, and sought out managerial opportunities. On the evening of November 24, 2017, Tess planned to spend time with her sister Rachel for emotional support following a recent breakup. They had a blast playing games and having dinner at Rachel's place. Later that night, Tess caught up with a high school friend she hadn't seen in 2 years. According to her friend, they had a night of heavy drinking at a bar and decided to take a walk down the street. At 4 a.m., Tess's friend received a message from his boyfriend saying it was time to go home, which led them to decide to leave. The next morning, Rachel tried to reach Tess through messages but got no reply. Growing increasingly worried, she contacted hospitals, checked their systems, and resorted to monitoring their shared Fitbit account to trace Tess's last movements. She also kept tabs on their mother's credit card transactions. Fitbit data revealed that Tess took around 300 steps after 3 a.m. and used the card to order an Uber ride. Tess requested the Uber precisely at 4:02 a.m. And even though the driver arrived at the pickup spot by 4:14 a.m., the ride didn't happen. Rachel shared this vital information with the Toronto Police Department, triggering a search based on the available clues. By November 27, Tess's family had dispersed flyers and posters around Tess's last known whereabouts. Their hopeful wait turned to heartbreak when her mother, Christine, unveiled the tragic reality. On the afternoon of November 29th, while Christine and a friend were searching near where Tess was last seen, they stumbled upon her body 2 blocks away from an abandoned house undergoing renovations. The sight was gut-wrenching for Christine, akin to looking into an open grave. On November 30th, the Toronto police delivered a somber announcement about the discovery of the body of 22-year-old Tess Ritchie. Initially, no signs of foul play were evident, but the authorities assured the public of their dedication to conducting a comprehensive investigation. Just 48 hours later, homicide detectives disclosed that they were looking into a male suspect, and we're in the process of confirming his identity. Despite their heartbreaking loss, the Ritchie family expressed frustration with the police, raising concerns about perceived oversights in the investigation. On December 10th, police released security camera footage depicting a man believed to be linked to the case. The person in the video subsequently contacted authorities, confirmed his identity, and agreed to provide a voluntary statement. Despite being accompanied by his legal counsel, he chose not to answer questions, and his family also showed a lack of cooperation. Nonetheless, law enforcement remained determined in their efforts, focused on obtaining his DNA through all available avenues. In a crucial turn of events, the suspect's parents brought him food and drinks during a visit. Detectives seized an opportunity when he disposed of a water bottle in a recycling bin, which was promptly sent for forensic testing. The DNA extracted from the bottle matched samples found at the crime scene, leading to the issuance of an arrest warrant on February 5th.
Tess Ritchie was last seen on Saturday, November 25th, 2017, at approximately 3 a.m. She had been down in the area of Wellesley Church, attending a bar with a friend of hers. And while she was down there, she interacted with several people. One of which was a young man that she met up with at some point, who turns out to be our suspect. On November 29th, Tess was unfortunately located deceased by members of her family who were in the area searching for her. Sunday, February 4th, so yesterday at about 11 p.m., we were able to effect the arrest of the person responsible for Tess's murder. We're alleging that he's responsible. He was arrested for second-degree murder, and his name is Kalen Schlatter, K-A-L-E-N, this is his first name, S-C-H-L-A-T-T-E-R. He's 21 years old, and he resides in Toronto. He did appear today at College Park Courts, and he's going to be remaining in custody. He was remanded in custody.
The suspect, 21-year-old Kalen Schlatter, lived in a northern neighborhood of the city. According to the detective's investigation timeline, on the night of the incident, Tess and a friend had visited a bar before stopping at a hot dog cart, where they encountered several individuals, including Kalen. After Tess's friend departed early via Uber, she stayed alone with Kalen for the rest of the evening. Surveillance footage captured Tess and Kalen walking north and entering an alley on Church Street, where the basement stairwell they used was later identified as the location where Tess's body was found. Approximately 45 minutes after entering the stairwell together, Kalen emerged alone, shedding light on the tragic events likely sparked by Tess rejecting his advances, ultimately leading to her untimely death. At first, Tess and Kalen were like strangers before the murder that led to Kalen's accusation of first-degree murder. His parents argued that there was no evidence the crime was premeditated or sexually motivated, making his arrest look unfair. Despite being known as a trouble-free guy in his neighborhood and studying to be a mechanic while helping his dad in construction, Kalen had a troubling fascination with violent pornography, especially non-consensual acts. After Kalen was taken to the police station, he was briefly placed in a cell while the investigation continued. Undercover officers pretended to be inmates and talked to Kalen for 3 hours. Unaware of their real identities, Kalen discussed being drunk that night and hinted at something concerning Tess, even mentioning, "Sometimes you have to push boundaries to see what happens," which was crucial for the police. The controversial tactic of using undercover officers in the cell to elicit incriminating statements raised concerns. Ultimately, on June 12, 2018, 2 officers were charged with neglect of duty and misconduct. Court records linked these charges to an emergency call made on the day Tess disappeared, to which they had responded. They failed to search important areas where Tess was last seen and omitted this information from their reports. As the trial approached, Kalen's past relationships came under scrutiny. Several women claimed he was forceful and had a keen interest in non-consensual activities. Prosecutors argued that Tess had rejected him, sparking a deadly reaction. Nevertheless, the reason Tess followed Kalen into the alley that night remained a mystery and sadly went unresolved. Kalen's defense maintained that he had no motive to harm a woman he had just met. They argued that Kalen, who was secretly bisexual, misled the undercover officers in the cell. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury found Kalen guilty of first-degree murder. This conviction resulted in Kalen receiving a life sentence in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years.
Any way, shape, or form, because he is a monster. Yeah, well, I love animals, so a monster.
Before we dive into our next story, if you could take a moment to hit that like button, it would mean the world to us. A single click for you is a huge boost of encouragement for us. Roni Reuter, a 42-year-old woman from Deerfield, Illinois, was eagerly awaiting the arrival of her baby, whom she had already lovingly named. Despite sharing a 17-year relationship with Sean Gale, a retired Chicago Bears football player who was also the father of her child, they had never walked down the aisle. Roni and Sean first crossed paths during their college days in Wisconsin, and on the surface they appeared to be a happy couple. However, their peace was abruptly shattered on the morning of October 4th, 2007, when one of Roni's neighbors made a frantic 911 call reporting hearing screams, loud bangs, and a crash, urging police intervention.
I heard the woman screaming and then a pop, pop, and it went totally silent. I called my other neighbor upstairs and she's pregnant and she does not answer.
Before this call, another neighbor had spotted a slender African-American young man, possibly wearing a wig, climbing the stairs. Upon entering Roni's apartment, the police found her lifeless body in the kitchen, facing down. It was a heart-wrenching scene, with an ultrasound photo on the fridge serving as a stark reminder that Roni's baby was due in under 2 months. Roni had been shot in the arms, and then fatally in the back of the head. The pathologist believed the fatal shot occurred as she courageously tried to shield her baby. Empty 9mm casings and 5 unused bullets were discovered next to her body. With no signs of forced entry or theft, the evidence strongly pointed to a deliberate and targeted attack, raising suspicions that the unborn baby might have been the primary target. As the investigation unfolded, a security camera captured a black Volkswagen near the building, arriving at 7:04 a.m. and departing at 7:55 a.m. Adding intrigue, an unsigned letter found in Roni's purse detailed Sean's alleged infidelities, referred to Roni's pregnancy, and accused Sean of pressuring his partners to terminate pregnancies. The letter contained a list of 16 women's names and phone numbers that Sean was allegedly involved with. Armed with this new information, the police sought to question Sean Gale to shed light on the case.
Listen, I've been getting calls from the media. This is Sean Gale. Was it Ronnie Riley still funny? Dustin Rhodes, Ronnie, and Dustin Paul. I'm sorry? I'm going to call her there.
Even though Roni loved Sean unconditionally, the police discovered that Sean had relationships with several other women. When questioned, Sean admitted that Roni was aware of his affairs. Dealing with the loss of Roni and their unborn child, Sean revealed that while he hadn't planned for the baby initially, he had grown excited about becoming a father. On the day in question, he mentioned sleeping in before heading to a coaching session. Later, around 9 a.m., he went for a haircut near Roni's apartment, just a short walk away, raising police suspicions. However, a neighbor reported seeing a person leaving Roni's place that morning who didn't resemble Sean, leading the police to consider the involvement of another person. There was no evidence suggesting ill intentions towards the baby from Sean. When asked about a potential attacker, Sean mentioned Monika Kurowska, a woman he had dated in the past. Monika, a Polish fitness model, had ended the relationship a year earlier. Sean suspected Monika of stalking him post-breakup, recalling an incident where she showed up at his house with blood on her hands, leading him to obtain a restraining order due to her erratic behavior. However, during interrogation, Monika denied any connection to Roni's death, providing an alibi of training a client with witnesses present that morning, which the police confirmed, eliminating her as a suspect. Monika did menti on breaking a window in anger after finding Sean with another woman, leading to the end of their relationship, but denied involvement in the anonymous letters. Julie Fields expressed suspicions that steered investigators towards Marnie Yang, a widow and mother of 3, who had met Sean in 2005 at a Chicago conference where she worked as a security guard and dabbled in real estate. They started a sexual relationship after bonding over real estate matters. Investigations revealed Marnie's intense infatuation with Sean despite his other relationships, viewing him as her boyfriend and displaying possessive behaviors. Detectives discovered that Marnie had accessed Sean's emails, leading to suspicions that she was the anonymous letter author. Surveillance of Marnie uncovered a damaged computer disk and discarded bank statements, including payments made by Sean to other women, which were seized for further inquiry. Further investigations revealed that Marnie owned a firearm, a crucial detail that led to her arrest, despite her claims of having the necessary permits and being able to provide the paperwork.
To allow her wrongful conviction petition to move forward.
The firearms were sent to Chicago for testing, where it was discovered that Marnie had attempted to make a silencer, a significant piece of information in the murder investigation. Roney had been shot multiple times, and although neighbors reported hearing loud noises, no one specifically mentioned hearing gunshots. Marnie's bank statements showed purchases of a book entitled How to Make Disposable Silencers, a hacksaw, and various tools. Consequently, Marnie Yang was charged with the first-degree murder of Roney Reuter and her unborn child. The prosecution argued that jealousy was at the center of the case, asserting that Marnie was fixated on Sean and saw Roney as a rival. The perpetrator intended to harm both Roney and the baby, as evidenced by the bullets hitting Roney's abdomen. During the trial, Marnie's daughter, Emily Yang, testified that her mother viewed other women as competitors. Christy Passion, a longtime friend of Marnie's and a key witness for the prosecution, revealed that Marnie had expressed concerns about Sean's interactions with other women and mentioned thoughts of harming him or Roney. Christy stayed at Marnie's house the night before the murder and felt a sense of foreboding. Marnie somewhat jokingly consulted Christy, who identified as a psychic, about the possibility of successfully harming Roney. After the murder, Marnie used a prearranged code to inform Christy of Roney's death. Initially dismissing the news as a prank, Christy cooperated with the police upon realizing the seriousness of the situation. During a recorded meeting at a restaurant, the police captured Marnie admitting to the crime, presenting the recordings at the trial. In her defense, attorneys argued the absence of physical evidence linking Marnie to the crime scene and criticized the police's narrow focus on her while overlooking other potential suspects. Nonetheless, Marnie Yang was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders of Roney Reuter and her unborn child. Dana Laskowski was born in Los Angeles, USA, on February 23, 1965. She had a joyful childhood and started honing her artistic skills early on, inspired by her father, Bill, who was an artist himself. Their shared love for art created a strong bond between father and daughter, with Dana showing a keen interest in her father's work. As she grew older, Dana took on more responsibilities, such as babysitting whenever she could. She enjoyed looking after children and dreamed of running her own nursery and having kids of her own. In 1989, at the age of 24, Dana met a man named Sam, and they soon decided to get married. The beginning of their relationship was challenging. Dana faced difficulties conceiving and underwent treatments for 4 long years. Despite the hardships, their perseverance paid off when they discovered they were expecting triplets. Despite the challenges of motherhood, Dana found immense joy in it. However, in 2000, after 11 years of marriage, Dana and Sam decided to part ways. Dana moved to a different city with their 3 children. Raising 3 kids as a single parent presented Dana with her greatest challenge yet. But she was determined to succeed and worked hard as a nanny. On August 31st, 2001, a couple contacted the Puyallup Police Department, concerned about their nanny, Dana Laskowski, who hadn't shown up for work and was unreachable by phone. Unusual for her. They requested a welfare check. When the officers arrived at Dana's house, they knocked on the door but received no answer and noticed the back door was open. Upon entering, they found Dana lying face down on the couch, as if asleep. On closer inspection, they discovered the grim reality. Blood pools surrounded her mouth, and she wasn't breathing. Sadly, she had passed away. The crime scene investigators meticulously searched the house, which appeared ransacked, resembling a burglary. The severity of Dana's injuries suggested that the perpetrator was quite strong. While the disarray in the house indicated a possible burglary, the violent nature of the crime hinted at a personal motive. Unfortunately, the detectives found little evidence at the scene. Despite exhaustive efforts, no fingerprints or DNA were uncovered. Expanding their investigation, they interviewed people who knew Dana to try to identify the perpetrator. Initial interviews revealed an alarming absence. Dana's ex-husband Sam and the children were nowhere to be found. Efforts to contact Sam were in vain, leading to further suspicions. Several days after the tragedy, Sam contacted the detectives, expressing disbelief about the incident, but acknowledging his awareness of the situation. Sam and the children had left for a camping trip a few days earlier with no phone reception, explaining their unavailability. Upon their return, Sam was inundated with notifications about Dana's death and received some hostile messages. He promptly contacted the police. However, his account did not entirely satisfy the detectives, who requested his presence at the station for further questioning. During the interview, Sam was questioned about his relationship with Dana. He explained that after 11 years of marriage, they had decided to part ways following an argument, and Dana chose to move far away. Despite past issues, he claimed they tried their best to co-parent and maintained that there were no problems between them. The detectives asked Sam for his fingerprints and DNA, but he was uncooperative, expressing his displeasure at being considered a suspect. When asked about his whereabouts on the night of the murder, he provided a gas station receipt, stating he was preparing for a camping trip with the triplets. Nevertheless, detectives speculated that Sam might not have a solid alibi for the hours Dana was presumed killed, and theorized he could have gone camping after the crime. With no concrete evidence, these were merely assumptions, and the investigation continued. None of Dana's other relatives could provide a significant lead. However, a breakthrough came from the couple Dana nannied for. They reported to the police that a man named Patrick had been harassing Dana, a fact she had confessed to them. Patrick, who had installed cable at Dana's house, became obsessed over time and had been following her for a month before her death. He left flowers and strange poems on her porch, and even wrote in a letter that he had been watching her, mentioning details only someone with access to her house would know. Dana was terrified by these events and had said that if something happened to her, Patrick would be responsible. Following this lead, detectives checked Dana's phone records and confirmed multiple calls from Patrick. They also learned that Patrick drove a white minivan, which neighbors had spotted near Dana's house before the murder. This unsettling information was enough for detectives to issue a search warrant for his house. Upon being detained, Patrick seemed genuinely surprised and agreed to provide his fingerprints and DNA. He told detectives he was working the night of the murder and hung out with some friends afterward. His alibi was verified. Surprisingly, Patrick was not involved in the crime, and the white minivan seen in the area wasn't his. Another suspect, a man named Michael, emerged. Dana had been romantically involved with him. Michael worked in the Vancouver film industry and met Dana while visiting a friend in Canada. Despite the distance, they started dating. Like many long-distance relationships, Dana and Michael faced challenges. Dana had even ended the relationship at one point. but they were trying to reconcile when the murder occurred. Michael, extremely emotional during the interview, vehemently denied any involvement in the murder. He claimed Dana was the love of his life and said he would have been with her if not stopped. He had talked to Dana on the phone that night, sensed something was wrong, and decided to drive to see her. Michael drove to the border, but due to legal issues, he was not allowed to cross. Detectives confirmed that records indeed showed he tried to enter the United States that night, but was denied entry. After eliminating the third suspect, the detectives felt they had hit a dead end. Dana's ex-husband, new boyfriend, and a stalker had all been cleared of suspicion. One detective suggested a shift in focus to less obvious suspects. He proposed examining a memory book that had been displayed at Dana's funeral and remained untouched since. Designed for loved ones to leave messages, this book might hold clues. Upon reviewing the book, a message from Dana's niece Amanda caught their attention. In her entry, Amanda expressed regret for not being a better niece and disappointing Dana. Detectives reached out to Amanda for an interview, sensing underlying guilt. Amanda claimed to know nothing about the incident. However, detectives delved deeper into her background. 17-year-old Amanda was associated with a troubled group known for substance abuse and frequent run-ins with the law. This group, often hanging out in a city park day and night, was colloquially known as the Park Rats. When detectives questioned Amanda about potential suspects, she mentioned a man named Blaine. Amanda suspected him because he had made an unreciprocated romantic advance towards her in the past, possibly harboring resentment towards her aunt. Amanda also recalled seeing Blaine near Dana's house the day after the murder with scratches on his arms. Detectives discovered that Blaine had a lengthy criminal record and focused their attention on him. However, there was a setback. Blaine had already left the state and was now across the country. He refused to return for an interview, prompting authorities to seek his extradition. The investigation then turned towards the Park Rats. 2 members of the group who were in prison agreed to speak with detectives. They revealed that everyone knew Blaine was not the killer and pointed the finger at Emily Lowenborg, Amanda's best friend and a notorious member of the group. Emily, known for her troubled past, drug addiction, and dominant persona within the group, was nicknamed Mutant for her physical strength. She had a signature chokehold move that matched the manner of Dana's death, capturing the authorities' attention. During questioning, Emily displayed defiance and arrogance, accusing those who testified against her of lying. Despite continued questioning, Emily evaded discussing the case. A search of Emily's home uncovered 2 crucial pieces of evidence. The first was a black blouse from Dana's house, worn by Emily at Dana's funeral. The second was a diary containing a list titled 10 Things I Want to Do Before I Die, with kill someone listed as number 9. Another page included a threatening message about Amanda, stating, "I will choke her just like her aunt." These findings were seen as incriminating evidence, leading to Emily Lowenborg being charged with first-degree murder. The authorities were confident they had apprehended the correct suspect, but the motive behind Emily's actions remained unclear. Detectives returned to Amanda, warning her about potential conspiracy charges and giving her a final chance to share the truth. Amanda then revealed the events of that tragic night. Under the influence of drugs, Amanda and Emily went to Dana's house to ask for money. Out of the blue, Emily turned hostile, hurling insults Amanda had never heard before. Dana told them to leave. Overwhelmed by anger, Emily seized Donna, executed a chokehold, and then strangled her with a cloth. In the midst of chaos, Amanda and Emily grabbed whatever money they could find and fled, inadvertently leaving the door open. Amanda's chilling confession, combined with the entries in Emily's diary, helped detectives piece together the puzzle. In exchange for immunity, Amanda agreed to testify against Emily. This turn of events was devastating for Dana's family. The prosecutors faced challenges due to Emily's age, which complicated securing a conviction. Ultimately, Emily Lowenborg accepted a plea deal and received a 6.5-year prison sentence. Shockingly, Dana's beloved niece Amanda, whom she had never suspected, was never charged with the murder. Ashley Renee Benson was born on April 18, 1990, in Gresham, Oregon. She lived in Montana with her mother until the age of 13, then moved to Portland, Oregon, with her family. In Portland, she started a new chapter with her father, Michael, and stepmother, Jody, which turned out to be a positive change for Ashley. As she entered Reynolds High School, Ashley quickly established a wide circle of friends due to her optimistic nature and reputation as a kind and generous person. At 17, she gave birth to a son with her boyfriend of 2 years, Marlon, greatly impacting her life. They chose to raise their child together. After graduating from high school in 2008, the couple married but faced challenges pursuing higher education due to financial constraints, leading to frequent arguments and ultimately their decision to separate. Ashley was granted primary custody of their son and spent several years striving to be independent. She re-entered the dating scene and met Marcus, eventually moving in with him in Vancouver. However, Ashley's family noticed troubling changes in her behavior after moving in with Marcus, who exhibited controlling tendencies that caused distress for Ashley. In September 2013, Ashley urgently called her father, Michael, alleging that Marcus had assaulted her and locked her in the bathroom. Michael intervened, threatening to involve law enforcement if Marcus did not release Ashley. Amidst the chaos, Ashley managed to escape and reunite with her father, displaying visible injuries from the altercation. Though she briefly left Marcus, she hesitated to definitively end the relationship upon her return, with her family assuring unwavering support during this tumultuous time. Ashley spent Christmas 2014 with her parents and child without incident, mentioning plans with friends for the evening, but withholding specifics. The next morning, Ashley's family was awakened by a call from Marcus. He reported that he had tried to contact Ashley but without success. Her family was not initially worried. They knew Ashley often kept her phone off and advised Marcus to stay calm. However, as hours passed without any news from Ashley, both Marcus and her family grew increasingly concerned. Meanwhile, a call was made to the police reporting a horrifying discovery by a staff member at the DoubleTree Hotel. The employee found a young woman lying motionless behind a door in a stairwell on the 8th floor. She was on the concrete floor, dressed inadequately for the cold weather conditions, and was without her coat, socks, shoes, purse, cell phone, or any form of identification. Marks on the woman's neck indicated strangulation, suggesting a likely homicide. Detectives began their investigation by interviewing hotel staff, none of whom recognized the victim or recalled her entering or exiting. A crucial development occurred when a receptionist disclosed that an unidentified woman had repeatedly called the hotel that morning, asking about a friend. Records showed a room booked under the name Chris Yoon for December 26th, with an early check-in requested and paid for in cash the night before. Additionally, call logs from the room were linked to an escort service ad on Backpage.com using the alias Cunning Veronica. Shortly thereafter, a woman's purse and a photo ID were found behind an ice machine at the hotel. The ID belonged to Ashley Benson. The news of her death deeply affected Ashley's family, and it appeared that their daughter had been leading a double life. Baffled by her presence at the hotel that night, the family directed the police investigation towards Marcus and Marlon. Marcus was a suspect due to his past behavior, while Marlon's involvement remained unclear. Detectives then questioned Chris Yoon at his residence, where he denied any involvement in the murder and claimed not to know Ashley Benson. Chris maintained his innocence, stating he was not near the DoubleTree Hotel on December 26th as he had spent Christmas with his family in Washington. He provided photographic evidence to support his alibi, which was verified by the police. He explained the uncanceled hotel booking under his name as an oversight and expressed surprise at someone using his credentials to check in. As a last resort, the investigative team asked Chris if he knew someone else with the same first and last name. Initially, Chris said no, but later recalled a person named Tay Bum, who also used the name Chris, but had a slightly different spelling of their surname, with a double O. Both resided in the same apartment complex in Bellevue, Washington. The police listened to Chris's account with astonishment. This disclosure redirected the investigation towards the second Chris Yoon, Tay Bum, who was indeed present at the hotel that night. Yoon had provided incorrect personal details at the hotel and had changed his reservation to a double room. At one point, the hotel staff noticed that the surname on his driver's license was spelled differently and stated they could not proceed with the transaction. Yoon argued that it was a typographical error. During their investigation, detectives obtained a warrant for Ashley's cell phone and discovered that it was emitting signals from a nearby base station. They meticulously searched the area and found the phone in a trash bin about a block and a half from the hotel. The phone contained a trail of calls, texts, and emails between Ashley and Chris, including messages related to Ashley's Backpage ad. The messages revealed that Chris had been a regular client of Ashley's for several months, exchanging over 24 messages with her. Over time, Chris developed an obsession with Ashley, urging her to leave her life as an escort behind. He promised her a better life, showering her with thousands of dollars per visit, expensive dinners, and gifts while demanding her exclusivity. Initially, Ashley agreed to quit escorting, but Chris later discovered new ads she had posted. Based on this information, investigators not only identified the person responsible for Ashley's murder, but also uncovered the motive. When they visited Chris's apartment in Washington, they discovered that he had rented it for only a month. Authorities subsequently obtained a warrant for Chris's cell phone, which led them to a different hotel. Police confirmed that Chris had been staying at the second hotel, but he had already left by the time they arrived. Reviewing his call logs, they discovered that he had been contacting other numbers, prompting them to act promptly to prevent another potential murder. Approximately 2 weeks after Ashley's murder, Chris Yoon was apprehended while attempting to flee from yet another hotel. During interrogation, he denied murdering Ashley, but admitted that he had been seeing her for several months and desired a romantic relationship with her. Chris claimed that he was not obsessed and suggested that someone with a criminal predisposition, such as Ashley's husband Marcus, could have been the perpetrator. He alleged that Marcus controlled the relationship and spent the money Ashley earned from her escorting work. Initially, Marcus denied knowledge of Ashley's escorting activities, but later changed his statement. Marcus not only knew Chris Yoon, but also confessed to having dropped Ashley off at the hotel on the night she was murdered. However, there was no direct evidence linking Marcus to the murder. Chris's situation contrasted with Marcus. He initially professed his innocence and vowed to challenge the charges against him. Nonetheless, in 2017, he accepted a plea deal proposed by prosecutors and confessed to manslaughter in the first degree, revealing that an argument over payment on the night of the incident escalated into murder. Chris Yoon was ultimately found guilty of Ashley Benson's murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison. We're on our way to Bellevue, Florida, a charming town of 3,000 people. Here, Seth Tyler Jackson was born on February 3, 1996, the youngest of 3 boys born of Sonia and Scott Jackson. Seth had big dreams of one day becoming a UFC fighter. Back on April 17, 2011, a regular Sunday for 15-year-old Seth took a surprising turn. He had planned to spend the day gaming with friends when out of the blue, his ex-girlfriend Amber got in touch. Also 15, Amber Wright wanted to patch things up and rekindle their relationship, inviting him to a friend's trailer. Though tempted, Seth hesitated due to the heartache from their breakup, especially concerned about Amber's new boyfriend, 18-year-old Michael Bargo. Seth shared his worries, wary if it was a setup, but Amber assured him it wasn't. After some persistence from Amber, Seth said his goodbyes to his friend, promising a quick return before heading home. Seth and Amber's love story began a year prior, blossoming quickly and even winning over support from Seth's parents. They often found the two watching TV shows together or playing basketball in the backyard, even though they noticed some concerning behaviors. However, their relationship hit a rough patch involving alcohol, marijuana, and jealousy. By the end of March 2011, Amber abruptly ended things with Seth. Both took to Facebook to announce their single status, leading to a heated exchange of insults and hurtful comments. Rumors circulated through friends that Amber was cheating on Seth with Michael, which sparked an influx of negative remarks. Seth even accused Amber of meth use in a post, prompting his friends to support him, leading to a clash of accusations. In response, Amber posted that she never truly loved Seth, claiming she did him a favor for a year and never wanted to hear his name again. Michael Bargo was the guy Amber was rumored to have cheated with, intensifying Seth's feelings of jealousy, pain, and inner turmoil. Michael had a tumultuous upbringing, surrounded by violence and chaos, raised by an abusive mother and an alcoholic father. Our story revolves around Amber, who was dating Michael but had secret intentions to harm Seth. Seth, heartbroken over losing Amber, started antagonizing Michael on Facebook and even threatened to burn down Amber's house. The conflict that started online soon spilled into reality. When Seth found out that Amber and Michael were going to a party, he and his friends decided to crash it and confront them. In front of everyone, Seth physically attacked Michael, damaging his ego and fueling a desire for payback. In response, Michael and Amber hatched a scheme. They tricked Seth into thinking he could reconcile with Amber and led him to a trailer entrance where Charlie, the owner, was waiting. As Seth entered, he was ambushed by Justin Soto, Michael Bargo, and Kyle Hooper, who beat him with an axe handle multiple times. After a break in the assault, Amber asked for everyone else to leave so she could speak alone with Seth. Kyle hesitated, but Michael persisted, reminding everyone of Seth's betrayal in pursuing Amber and disrespecting his sister online. Kyle and Justin resumed their attack. Despite Seth's efforts to stand and escape, Michael shot him from behind. Dragged back inside, Seth suffered severe injuries as they carried him to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Amber and Charlie cleaned up the bloodstains. When it was time to deal with the defenseless Seth, Michael exploded in screams, curses, and physical blows, ultimately delivering the fatal blow. He used a baseball bat to break Seth's knees, tied up his body, and removed his teeth with pliers. The group disposed of Seth's body in a fire pit at the back of the house, exchanging words by the flames before placing his remains in tin cans and burying them in a nearby lime pit. Involved in this gruesome act was 37-year-old James Haven, Amber and Kyle's stepfather. Despite the age gap, he had been socializing with these young individuals and was complicit in planning the murder. On the evening of April 17th, Seth didn't return home or reach out, leaving his mother, Sonia, extremely concerned. The next day, she reported him missing to the authorities, and word of Seth's disappearance quickly circulated. Kyle Hooper and his mother, Tracy, got wind of the news about Seth, and that's when things began to unravel. Kyle eventually confessed to witnessing the crime, leading Tracy to inform the police that her son was somehow involved. Little did she know, both her children, Amber and Kyle, were actually implicated in Seth Jackson's murder and wouldn't be returning home. Kyle was the first to admit confessing to hitting Seth with a wooden stick. He falsely claimed to have instructed Seth to run, only to witness Michael shooting Seth upon his return to the house. Amber, alongside Charlie and Justin Soto, was taken into custody. During Amber's interrogation, she disclosed how they lured Seth into the trailer, where they waited for Kyle to burst in and attack Seth. After the chaos, they hid in Charlie's room for the night, waking up to the scent of bleach the following morning. Charlie's recollection of events aligned with Amber's testimony. Each suspect tried to shift blame onto Michael for the murder. The police hatched a plan, leaving Kyle, Charlie, and Amber alone in the interrogation room while secretly recording their conversation. Their candid discussion about their roles in Seth's demise essentially sealed their fate. Michael was eventually located and apprehended at a friend's house 130 kilometers away. Thanks to Kyle's confession, all 6 suspects were arrested and charged with complicity in the murder. Amber, Charlie, Kyle, and Justin were convicted of first-degree murder and handed life sentences without the possibility of parole. Despite Michael's insistence on his innocence, he was convicted and became the youngest person on death row in Florida. His defense argued mental illness, but he still received the sentence. Charlie Ely served 9 years, accepted a lesser charge, and was released in 2020. James Havens, the stepfather of Amber and Kyle, received a 10-year sentence for aiding the youths in disposing of the body. Our next story takes us to Fairfield, Indiana, USA. Caitlin Markham, born on August 16, 1990, in Hamilton County, Ohio, was a young woman who had a real passion for graphic arts. Described as cheerful and friendly, Caitlin always aimed to spread happiness among those around her. In 2010, she got engaged to John Carter, her boyfriend of 6 years. Their plan was to finish their studies and move to Colorado, but fate had different plans for them. On August 13, 2011, just 3 days before her 21st birthday, Caitlin suddenly became unreachable. Although her fiancé John had seen her last around midnight that day, he couldn't reach her the next day. Concerned, John contacted Caitlin's father, David Markham, who also hadn't heard from her. Worried, John called 911 for help.
My fiance is missing. I can't find her anywhere. I remember when she was at midnight last night when you She was at her house. She was going to bed. She wasn't going out to do anything. She would have been in her bed. And I mean, I've been with her for 6 years. She's not deceiving. You know, she doesn't. Okay, you guys didn't have an argument or anything? Not at all. Car is still there. The purse is still. Okay, and you're out there now? I'm heading out there now. I been trying to get a hold of her, and I decided to go by her house and see if she was okay. And the car was still there, which is why I'm really freaking out.
When the police searched Caitlin's apartment, they found no signs of forced entry. Her purse and car keys were on her bed, and her beloved dog Murphy was locked in another room, which was unusual for her. Friends and family were perplexed as Caitlin's disappearance was out of character for her. She was on the brink of graduating from art school, engaged, and looking forward to a new life in Colorado. The investigation went on for 20 months with no leads, and the case was on the verge of going cold until April 7, 2013. A couple searching for metal in Franklin County stumbled upon human remains and alerted the authorities. The police discovered bones, including a skull and jawbones, at a dump site approximately 40 kilometers from Caitlin's residence. The deputies noticed distinct characteristics, such as protruding teeth, that led them to compare the remains to missing persons records. The first photo they found was of Caitlin Markham, confirming their worst fears. A local forensic anthropologist positively identified the remains as Caitlin's through dental records. 2 days later, detectives broke the devastating news to David Markham and the rest of the family. Caitlin's promising life met a tragic end far from her hometown, in a landfill, leaving numerous unanswered questions. 3 years after Caitlin's tragic passing, a mysterious donor stepped in and made a significant contribution to reopen the case. Thanks to this generous support, her father, David Markham, enlisted the help of private detective Ryan Green to take a fresh look at Caitlin's file. As Ryan immersed himself in the investigation, he was struck by the 911 call made by John Carter on the day Caitlin went missing.
Car is still there, the purse is still okay. And you're out there now? I'm heading out there now. I been trying to get a hold of her, and I decided to go by her house to see if she was okay, and the car was still there.
John informed the operator that Caitlin's car and purse were at home, despite claiming he was not there at the time. This inconsistency raised suspicion for Ryan. How could John provide details about the missing items if he wasn't present? Additionally, John mentioned running errands before seeking help, an unusual choice for someone in distress. Why prioritize errands over seeking assistance for a missing loved one? During the call, John insisted there were no issues between him and Caitlin. However, Caitlin's close friend Michelle contradicted this, disclosing a recent disagreement between the couple. To delve further into the matter, the Markham family's lawyer collaborated with a firefighter and a medical professional to analyze the 911 call. While emergency calls typically involve urgent pleas for help, John's call seemed more like a mere update. The lawyer pointed out that during the call, John floated a theory suggesting that people at a nearby carnival could have been involved in Caitlin's disappearance.
The only thing that's not there is her cell phone, which is positive, but she's not answering it. So, and the Sacred Heart Festival is going on right up the street, and there's a lot of questionable people there, and it's just kind of...
However, with no solid evidence to back these claims, the accusations appeared far-fetched, veering attention away from the main objective of locating Caitlin. Years later, John underwent a voice stress analysis test, which reportedly raised concerns. He also underwent 2 polygraph tests, the results of which were not disclosed by authorities, as they deemed it premature to draw conclusions. Meanwhile, Detective Ryan meticulously scrutinized the area where Caitlin's remains were discovered, a location that had previously been used as an illegal dumping site. This find indicated that locals would likely be familiar with this secluded spot. As Ryan delved deeper into the investigation, he carefully examined the proximity of the Carter family's property to the illegal dumping site. The short distance between their home and where the body was found made him suspicious that it was more than just a coincidence. At first, the police thought Caitlin's death happened in Ohio, and her body was later moved to Indiana. But armed with the facts, Ryan developed a theory involving an accomplice in transporting the body. He discovered that Brad Vaughn, a friend of John's, had been to Caitlin's apartment before, and was with John on the day she disappeared. When Brad was questioned after Caitlin vanished, he said he left the apartment before John. Interestingly, Ryan learned that Brad had sold his beloved car in 2013 because of financial troubles, according to him, which prompted Ryan to follow this lead. Ryan managed to locate the 1997 model car Brad used to leave Caitlin's place that fateful night and arrange for a luminol test. The test revealed traces of blood in the car's trunk. However, this potential evidence was compromised because the car had been cleaned, most likely with detergents that could have degraded DNA and removed the blood evidence. Despite finding blood and other evidence, the authorities couldn't determine its origin, so the investigation continued. Brad and John remained under scrutiny during the active investigation. A significant breakthrough happened when Ryan obtained cell phone records from the night Caitlin disappeared, contradicting John's statements to the police. One inconsistency was a message John claimed he sent to his mother to reassure her that Caitlin was fine. However, phone records showed that no such message had been sent. Another anomaly was the absence of a 911 call from Carter's mother in the records. While these discrepancies might have been due to technical issues, they were not further looked into. Ryan then focused on a phone conversation John had on the day of the incident. According to John's friend Matt, during the call, John mentioned that his car was parked near his house the night Caitlin disappeared. Cell phone records indicated that just 38 seconds after ending the conversation with Matt, John called Caitlin's father, David, to ask about her whereabouts. This timeline raised suspicion because it seemed unlikely that John could park his car, enter his home, check the rooms, and contact the father all within 38 seconds. The short time frame suggested that John already knew Caitlin was not at home even before he entered, hinting at prior knowledge of her absence. Back in 2014, the town was rocked by a tragic event, the brutal murder of 15-year-old Chelsea Jones, who was fatally stabbed. Soon after an arrest was made following a tip-off, it reignited public interest in Caitlin's case. Speculation started swirling around a potential link between Chelsea and Caitlin's deaths, suggesting the presence of a serial killer in the area. Unfortunately, due to a lack of evidence, the suspect couldn't be held, halting progress in both investigations. Jump to July 23, 2019, when 23-year-old Ellie Wake vanished from Fairfield. Authorities sought public help, and a month later, Ellie's body was discovered, echoing Caitlin's case. Fortunately, Ellie's killer, identified as Michael Strauss, was apprehended and sentenced to 17 years in prison. Following Strauss's capture, David Markham took to social media to highlight similarities between the cases, casting doubt on Strauss's potential involvement in Caitlin's case. However, during a police briefing on August 28, 2019, officials declared no connection between the cases, once again halting progress in Caitlin's case. In 2020, authorities stumbled upon a possible path from Caitlin's residence to an illegal dump site, prompting a reopening of the case. A comparison of items from the Carter home with evidence from the crime scene uncovered professional-grade materials. By 2022, detectives interviewed 2 teenagers residing near Caitlin, recalling seeing 2 vehicles on the night she vanished, one of which belonged to John Carter, driving without lights. Vehicle records indicated that John's car was in the garage for approximately 5 hours on that evening. The case gained momentum in April 2022 through the interrogation of Jonathan Palmerton, a close associate of John Carter, who had provided conflicting information during interviews in 2012. In December 2022, a private investigator disclosed that shortly after Caitlin went missing, John had contacted him, discussing her in the past tense, hinting that he knew her fate. This revelation cast a spotlight on John as the primary suspect. On February 17, 2023, authorities searched John Carter's mother's residence, uncovering sketches and poems believed to be connected to Caitlin. Simultaneously, Jonathan Palmerton was arrested for perjury, redirecting focus onto John. John Carter was apprehended on March 22, 2023, in connection to the Caitlin Markham case, facing murder charges. Initially cooperative, John later requested legal representation, maintaining his innocence. He was released on a $1 million bond, getting prepared for a trial scheduled for June 2024, as the case against him solidifies. We're off to Antioch, Tennessee, a city with a population of 97,000. In the late hours of April 22, 2018, the Waffle House there was bustling with weekend crowds. People who had been out for the night were making a final pit stop before heading home. At that time, a car pulled up in front of the Waffle House, and its driver, Travis Reinking, spent about 4 minutes inside, teetering on the brink of disaster. Travis, who was 29 years old, was born on February 1989 in Morton, Illinois. He came from a middle-class family with parents who owned a crane rental company and were well off. Travis was homeschooled during his childhood and briefly attended the local high school before being withdrawn by his family. After finishing his education, he worked for the family business and lived independently. Travis's past was marked by erratic behaviors, paranoia, and delusions. These issues escalated significantly after he attended a Taylor Swift concert in 2015, where he believed Taylor was communicating with him directly. This event acted as a turning point for him, triggering a rapid downward spiral as he became fixated on Taylor Swift and believed they were in a relationship. Taylor, I'm really confused right now. I don't know if it was you in the pictures on Instagram or someone who looks like you. Do you really have a twin sister? Which one am I in love with then? I want the Taylor that wrote those beautiful songs and sang to me at her concert. Maybe Taylor 1 wrote half, and Taylor 2 wrote half. Maybe I saw a Taylor 1 in Morton, and Taylor 2 in concert. Who was the girl in the music videos then? In May 2016, Travis Reinking's condition worsened, prompting his parents to seek help from the police. Caught in his delusions, Travis believed he was meeting Taylor Swift at a restaurant, but upon seeing her, he fled, intensifying his paranoia. Recognizing his distress, both his family and the police saw the urgent need for medical intervention. Despite his hesitance, Travis was eventually taken to the hospital, where he stayed for about 9 days. Unsurprisingly, doctors diagnosed him with schizophrenia and initiated medication, though Travis had difficulty adhering to his treatment regimen. A few months later, Travis moved to Colorado after receiving a job offer from a family friend in the crane industry. Despite this fresh start, Travis frequently fixated on Taylor Swift with his coworkers, proclaiming they were meant to be together and even suggesting he had a ring for their marriage.
Yeah, I need to report something, and every time I go to the sheriff's office, it's closed. Okay, what do you need to report? I have somebody stalking me around town, and I do not appreciate it. I've wanted to stop, and no one seems to take me seriously when I say that. Okay, and who is it that's stalking you? Taylor Swift. Okay, and is this person a male or a female that's stalking you? Female. Okay. And what is she doing that you say she's stalking you? Yeah, I mean, everywhere I go, like, they're stalking me on the internet, they're stalking me, like, in person, everywhere I go. I'm pretty sure, like, the police here are involved in it. And, like, I wanted to stop. It's stupid. No one has the right to do that to me. Okay. What exactly are they doing? But somehow they're, like, getting on my Facebook, they're getting on my YouTube, they're getting on my Netflix, and they're changing the videos that I see as they pop up. Okay. I'll have an officer come meet you at your house then. Okay. Okay? Yeah, thank you.
Convinced of Taylor Swift's surveillance and cyber attacks, Travis spiraled further, suspecting police involvement in a grand conspiracy. Concerned by Travis's worsening mental state, the company owner informed his parents, who brought him back home. In a troubling incident in the city, Travis impulsively stripped naked and jumped into a public swimming pool, behaving erratically. In response to calls, police found him exposing himself to onlookers, underscoring his severe mental health challenges.
Angry right now. I come back up to my apartment, and this is all my dad's property. My dad owns this property, but this is where I reside. This is where all my stuff is. My stuff's all right here. So this is my living quarters. This is where I live. This is where I reside. No one can come in here. The door is locked. There's nothing saying anyone can come in here. And so, anyway, I come in here, I come into my bathroom, and I notice in my bathroom toilet seat is up. The toilet seat is up on my toilet.
In July 2017, Travis headed to the White House, demanding a meeting with President Trump and proclaiming himself a sovereign citizen, denouncing the U.S. government. Despite attempting unauthorized entry, he was intercepted by law enforcement without harm. Subsequent to this event, Travis received a 32-hour community service sentence, and his firearms were confiscated for safety. Unfortunately, his father, Jeffrey, mistakenly returned the confiscated weapons to Travis, setting alarming events in motion. After moving to Nashville, Tennessee, Travis fixated on stalking Taylor Swift's property. In May 2018, Travis stole a car from a BMW dealership, initiating a police pursuit that ended with his escape after abandoning the vehicle near an apartment complex, leaving authorities puzzled. In the early morning of May 22, 2018, Travis Reinking drove his car into the parking lot of a Waffle House. Within 4 minutes, he got out and started shooting at Joe Perez Jr. and Chef Tareen Sanderlin, who were outside on a smoke break. He then turned his gun towards the frightened customers inside the restaurant and began firing. Some patrons tried to flee, others pretended to be dead, and a few dialed 911 as Travis entered and locked the door behind him. By the end of that night, Travis had claimed the lives of 4 individuals: Joe Perez Jr., Ebony Groves, Akala da Silva, and Karini Sanderlin. During the chaotic incident, a customer named James Shaw Jr. exhibited extraordinary courage, preventing further casualties. Although initially hiding when Travis entered, James, who had been grazed by a bullet on his elbow, bravely seized an opportunity. He lunged at Travis, grasped the rifle barrel, which burned his hand in the process, and ultimately subdued Travis to the ground. James managed to toss the weapon behind the counter, prompting Travis to flee the scene within just 42 seconds.
I actually threw that door, and one of the bullets grazed me. I think that's when I became alert about the situation. It was like there's no running from this. Barrel of the gun was down, so that's when I took my opportunity, wrestling her from him, and I ran through the door at full speed, hit him with the door, and took the gun and threw it over the bar, and then I took him and myself outside the restaurant.
Following a mistaken address, the police initially headed to the wrong Waffle House, delaying their response and arriving amidst disorder. Travis's car was promptly recognized, initiating a citywide manhunt. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation promptly added him to their most wanted list and issued a reward for information, leading to his apprehension.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm standing in the construction site behind the Diamond Apartments on Mountain Springs Road. In between the school, there's a man that just walked through my job. Dark pants, dark shirt, wearing a backpack.
Repeat the location. Is there an address or an intersection there?
Well, I am on the TVA line side in the construction zone. He's right behind the elementary.
But is there an address or an intersection near where you are?
5000 Mountain Springs Road.
Okay, repeat the address. I got it right.
500 Mountain Springs Road. From a distance, it looks like this guy. He's got mud all over him.
Okay, you said it's a construction site.
Approximately 34 hours after the tragic events, Travis Reinking was captured thanks to a woman's tips. At the time of his arrest, he was found carrying a backpack containing a rifle, a handgun, and ammunition. Among the victims, Ebony Groves, a 21-year-old college senior, was a standout scholar and a star athlete. Akila da Silva, 23, had a promising future in music as a rapper and video producer. Torian Sanderlin, age 29, had been working at Waffle House for about 5 years and was known as a devoted family man. Joe Perez, a 20-year-old from Texas, had stopped by the Waffle House due to a flat tire while trying to reach his brother for aid. That fateful night, a call left uncompleted. charges of 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and illegal possession of a firearm during a felony. Following evaluations by forensic psychologists, he was diagnosed with severe schizophrenia, rendering him unfit to stand trial initially. He spent 3 months receiving psychiatric treatment in a hospital, regaining competency for trial later on. Travis initially pleaded not guilty to the murder and weapon assault charges, but on the day of his trial, changed his plea to not guilty by reason of insanity. On February 4th, 2022, he was convicted on all charges, including 4 counts of first-degree murder, and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole during the subsequent sentencing. Travis's father, Jeffrey Reinking, faced charges of illegal firearm delivery for returning weapons to his son and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Amari Nicholson was born on October 26, 2018, to Taylor Nicholson and Giorgio Hayes. Giorgio, his father, had never been actively involved in his life and had never spent time with him. While Taylor was pregnant, she suffered from domestic violence at the hands of Giorgio, resulting in his 3-year prison sentence. Giorgio was still incarcerated when Amari was born. With her former husband in prison, Taylor met Terrell Rhodes and soon began a relationship with him. They lived together in the Emerald Suites in Las Vegas, a location generally chosen by those facing financial distress and not in the best condition. On June 30th, 2021, Taylor's mother was attacked by a dog and required surgery. This prompted Taylor to fly to Colorado to assist her, leaving Amari in Terrell's care as she left town. The following day, Terrell repeatedly tried to contact Taylor, who was not answering her phone. When she finally answered, a distressed Terrell spoke to her. Around 6 in the morning, a woman dressed in sweatpants knocked on the door, claiming to be Amari's paternal aunt. She stated she was there to take Amari and requested Terrell to prepare the child and his belongings. While Terrell tried to reach Taylor for confirmation and gather Amari's things, the woman took Amari and disappeared. Terrell attempted to follow her, but neither the woman nor Amari could be found. Distraught, Taylor, unable to intervene from afar, broke down crying over the phone. She then called 911 from Colorado, seeking guidance on what to do.
Okay, who's missing that you know?
My son. Somebody came knocking on the door, and my boyfriend thought it was related to us, and she ran out the door with my baby.
Do we know who might have taken the child, or no idea?
At this point, I don't know, because nobody knows where we live, but he claims that she said that she was my baby daddy's sister. I'm in Colorado visiting my mom right now, so I'm not in Vegas.
Did somebody already call this?
No, I'm the first person.
Responding officers visited Terrell's apartment and initially questioned him. Terrell mentioned that the woman who took Amari was a biological relative with whom they had a custody battle. Despite police searches in the area, the woman and Amari were not located. Efforts to find Amari included contacting his biological father, Giorgio, and his family, who denied involvement. Giorgio's sister was questioned, and searches were conducted at Giorgio's, his mother's, and his grandmother's homes, but no evidence was found. Taylor informed the press that she had always tried to maintain a cordial relationship with Amari's biological father. However, they had an argument the last time they spoke on Monday, and the incident occurred on Wednesday.
So now, did you okay the sister to come and get him?
His family never knew where we lived. They knew the area but not the apartment number. And I never spoke to anyone and gave no okay for anyone to communicate what happened with anyone. They just sort of uninvited.
Okay.
According to Giorgio's family, they knew the general area where he lived, but not the exact apartment number. On May 6th, Las Vegas homicide detectives called Taylor with shocking news. An examination of Terrell's apartment revealed a plastic bag containing Amari's clothes with bloodstains on the bedroom wall After the initial investigation, the police publicly announced they found the parents' situation suspicious. As the investigation progressed, the police department carefully examined all resources and identified Terrell Rhodes as the primary suspect. Terrell was questioned again about the day of the incident, but continued to deny any involvement. Following this interview, he was not arrested, but remained a primary suspect under police scrutiny. Terrell had a criminal history, having served time for theft, robbery, and assault with intent to rob, and had been released from prison a year prior. The police also spoke with Taylor's mother, Carrie, who revealed that Terrell had been abusive towards Amari. Despite this, Taylor, Carrie's daughter, was deeply in love with him and seemed unwilling to leave him, regardless of his actions. Carrie also mentioned a past Child Protective Services case involving Taylor, alleging child abuse towards Amari. However, the case was closed after authorities found no evidence of abuse upon reviewing the file. On May 11th, Terrell made a shocking confession to Taylor, admitting to the murder. He revealed that on the day he was caring for Amari in Taylor's absence, Amari had repeatedly soiled himself, which angered Terrell. He attacked Amari with an object, striking him 3 or 4 times in the face until the defenseless child stopped breathing. Terrell attempted CPR, but was unsuccessful in reviving Amari. He then disposed of Amari's body outside without disclosing the location. Taylor promptly reported this confession to the police, leading to Terrell's swift arrest, which posed a challenge for some officers. Terrell Rhodes, a 27-year-old, was charged with murder and faced additional charges of resisting arrest. Amari's body was found the day after Rhodes' arrest, on Wednesday, May 12th. Terrell's initial hearing was set for May 17th, but his attorney requested a 2-week postponement, citing that his client was in quarantine. The trials, held intermittently from 2021 to 2024, had Terrell consistently denying the murder until April 25th, 2024. Just 2 days ago, he finally confessed to the crime. His sentencing is scheduled for July, with the prosecutors not seeking the death penalty, although life imprisonment remains a possibility.